everyone, it's Sarah, Painty Creator here. So I'm just leaning into a bit of a spring vibe today and doing some flowers. So as you can see, I've got my Creative Peak, my trusty little Creative Peak watercolour paper. Really good value for money and nice to work with without breaking the bank. Masking tape to a board, and my board's roughly on a 20-degree angle, but I can lift it as well. I like working on a board that's movable. And I've just drawn out some random flowers and masked it out using my Windsor and Newton masking fluid, which is removable. You need to make sure you get that. I use an old brush. I think this came in one of my grandson's art kits. Before you use your masking fluid, run it in some liquid soap and then wash your brush out immediately when you're finished. And then we're just waiting for this to dry. It's really important that you let masking fluid dry naturally. If you use a heat tool, like a heat gun or a hairdryer, you can end up with it bonding to the paper and it will rip very badly as you remove it. So it's really important that you get a bit of patience and you let your masking fluid dry naturally. So if this is your first time and you enjoy this, please can you like and subscribe and share this space with your friends. It's a space that is designed for long and slow watercolour tutorials for those of us who are chronically ill. I've lived with ME for most of my adult life now, and it has got worse, and I do struggle day to day, but I hope this space gives you something that you can do at a pace, and at any time just pause it and just go and have a rest or make yourself a brew. So I also use the Cotman range of watercolours with a few additions, but mainly this Cotman range. Again, it's good value for money, and when you get them you have to unwrap them, pop them in your palette, and then as you can see they're well used. So just give them a spritz with a spritzer bottle, which helps wake them up. And I'm also going to be using my big Meeden mop brushes to start with, and then maybe some smaller ones later on. A little bit of a plastic store card, always quite useful, and some salt. This is just table salt, the big bits of rice that I keep in there just to keep it dry. So some table salt, and I might use my big spritzer bottle as well. This is just a Febreze bottle that's been washed out and it's just full of water. So grab your things and probably put the kettle on and make a brew, and then let's get going. So I'm going to start off and I'm going to mix up some cobalt blue, which is a cerulean blue and an ultramarine mix. So quite a nice summery blue colour, fairly thick, nice and vibrant. It's going to be a nice, vibrant, uplifting piece. A bit of cerulean blue in there as well, so that's a cerulean blue and a ultramarine blue mix, which would make a cobalt blue. So nice and bright, fairly thick, and I'm going to just get my little mister bottle and just going to spritz all over, just so we've got some moisture on the paper. And I'm just going to have fun painting some sky. Just a bit of fun today. So while it's wet, you can go back in and do anything with it that you want. If you wanted, you could add some darker bits, some lighter bits. It's all up to you. Yeah, that was hard, wasn't it? That's the sky. I'm going to go back in with my spritzer bottle and a bit of salt in a minute, but I'm just going to get some sap green straight from the palette. This one, sap green, and I'm just going to put on some big leaves and some nice vibrant green colour. I love sap green. I'm just building up this texture of, so some of that blue goes in. I'm just going to get some sap green now and mix it with some new gamboge yellow. So there's my sap green. New gamboge is a lovely vibrant yellow, and it's just going to lighten this green up a little bit. There we go, really nice. And that brighter yellow. Oops. I'm in a bit of a messy, sort of playful mood today, so that's what we're doing. Building a lovely backdrop. Just going to spritz this to keep it dry, keep it damp going, and then I'm just going to add some phthalo blue into here and a little bit of more of my sap green to keep it in the green hue, and I'm just going to add some more of that. Building up the textures. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of indigo into there. And then another layer on top. So more indigo. And when you're working like this, it's important to work quite quickly, not overthinking where your brush strokes are going. Just let them happen. All with this lovely big mop brush. So another layer. I'm just going to add some Payne's Grey and indigo together to get some real dark at the front. Show the bits that are showing at the bottom. There we go, that was nice. So whilst this is drying, I'm just going to spritz in some water into there. That lets that go. I'm also going to get some salt into my painting because I love the effect. I'm just going to lift my board flat because that helps with the salt effect. And I'm just doing a bit of a sprinkle all over. I might have just missed the sky, so a bit of a mister bottle on there and another sprinkle. Let's see what happens. So good time, go and put the kettle on, have a rest. And we'll see. So here we are back with it dry. The salt's not particularly worked well. There's a few bits that have, but it's salt, it does its own thing. But I just love some of this texture. I love some of how some of the sap greens just melted in. It's a really beautiful background. I'm going to put another layer of green on here before I take the masking fluid off. So I'm still using my large mop brush, and I'm still going to be using the same greens that we were using before. So sap green as the base, and I'm just going to put a few more vibrant tones in the foreground. So that's just sap green straight from the palette. So I'm just going to do some sap green with that new gamboge yellow. Just that lighter, brighter green. It just lifts some of that. And then I'm going to do some sap green with some indigo, with some darker green. But the vibrance of the sap green still shows through. A bit more indigo. More indigo, a little bit of sap green. Keeping adding indigo till I get the colour I want. These mop brushes make great expressive strokes. Okay, I'm happy with that. I just use that bit up, whatever that was. So I'm going to let that dry. Again, I might use my hairdryer this time. But I'm loving this depth of foliage, because that's what you get in spring. There's loads of foliage, and get that sort of depth of texture coming. Might give it a little spray, a little cheeky squirt with my big spray bottle. Just let that rest for a little bit. Let those tendrils come through, and because it's on an angle, it'll just drip down that little bit. Nice, we'll give that a rest, and then I'll dry it off with the hairdryer, and then I'll be back with you. Before I dry it off, I've just realised that I haven't done the little line scratches that I want with my little card. So I'm just getting my little plastic card, and I'm just going to put some expressive scratches through while it's still damp. Again, it's a little bit like the salt. You have to experiment with getting the dampness right. It's a nice way of just again building a little bit of a foreground texture up. Remembering to go in different directions. There we go. So I'm going to now pause it and give it dry. So here I am back with you. It's dry, and so I'm just waiting for it to cool off because I have used my hairdryer on it. And if you take it off, if you take the masking, try to take the masking fluid off while it's not dry, your paper's likely to rip. And if you take the masking fluid off while it's hot, it seems to not like it. So you can just rub it with your fingers and it will come off, or you can use a lifting block or a stiff rubber will work. Things like this, where I don't want the paper to tear, I do find by just rubbing it with my fingers, I get less paper tears than if I rub it with a pickup tool such as this one. You can use those. I still like to go over it with my fingers and check that, but just take your time. Don't rush it. If you're rushing it, it's more likely to tear. It reminds me of the times when you used to pick off glue from your hands when you were a child and peel your skin. So I'll come back to you when I've got all of it removed. So here we are back in with the masking fluid taken off, and I've also redrawn in the flowers because you quite often end up losing the centres, and at this point you can choose whatever colour flowers you want, really. I'm going to go with white flowers for this, for a bit of contrast, but it would look nice with yellow as well. I'm going to use yellows and maybe a little bit of red for the centre parts of my flowers. So I'm just giving my paints a little spritz to wake them up a bit more. And for this next part, I've got my small mop brush and my little trusty number 4 round, and I'm going to just mix up some light green stems. So I'm going to use my new Gamboge yellow and my trusty sap green for some nice light green. It's quite a thick consistency, not too much water. And I'm just going to start painting in. Oh, sorry, that's my hubby. Some of the stem detail. I've changed this flower into a bud, really. A bit of masking fluid. So nothing too fancy. Just bringing a little bit of light green into this, and whilst that's still drying, I'm just going to pick up some yellow ochre straight from the palette. I'm just going to drop some yellow ochre into this sort of pod part of the flower, and a little bit on the leaves. That's that yellow ochre rich colour, and then the sort of greener stem. It's not what the focus is of the painting. I don't want them to stand out too much. I'm just adding a little bit of sap green into there as well. So I'll just mix and match a little bit of yellow ochre, a little bit of sap green, a bit of both. A bit of tone. And just basically letting the paint mix on the paper as much as possible to build up so the stems are standing out, but they are not standing proud in that way. A little bit of yellow ochre. So we're just working with that sort of mix of new gamboge yellow, a sap green, and a bit of yellow ochre. Nice earthy colours, just to keep everything quite unified. But not looking the same. That's what you're aiming at. See, got these really nice, bright, vibrant greeny yellows. So, as I quite often say, it's not a botanical study. So you can just work with it as you want. You don't need a reference point. You can just work on the colour, keeping them nice and translucent, and then just build up as you go. And when you let the paint mix on the paper, you get much nicer, more gentle tones. So I am going to just let that dry in for a little bit. I like that difference, and then I'll come back. So whilst that's drying, I've swapped to my little mop brush, and I'm just putting some new Gamboge yellow on. Now I'm using this sort of orangey yellow because it'll complement nicely the paint, the colours that we've used. But if you wanted a contrast, you could use a cooler yellow. And as you can see, I'm not taking loads of time. If you don't want your pencil marks to show, you can also take your pencil marks off beforehand. So I'm just going to add a little bit of cadmium red into that to make a reddy orange. So I'm just taking some of the water out, and I'm just going to touch around the base of some of these larger ones. You do have to keep washing your brush and reloading it. Because otherwise it ends up contaminated a little bit. Dab. But again, letting the magic happen on the paper, not trying to control it too much. You can always go back in and put another layer on afterwards if need be. A bit more red in it for one or two. But again, your little mop brush is really good at this if you just let them do their thing. Okay, I'm just going to let that dry. So this is near enough dry. I can come back at doing the darker green leaves that I want to put on. So indigo, a little bit of phthalo blue, and some sap green. Really nice dark but vibrant green. And I'm just going to go for little leaves. Push down, lift up and drag. Push down, lift up and drag. And some bigger leaves. again, if you don't like the leaves, don't put them on. But I think that added a little bit of interest works quite nicely, particularly with these lighter flowers. And then I'm just going to get my little number 4. I'm just going to run some of this dark green down some of these stems to just add a little bit of texture, and again to anchor those leaves into the stems. And it's just another green that helps build the depth on the painting. Okay, so I'm now at the point where I want to do really light grey, so cerulean blue, a little bit of like cadmium red light, and that will make me a nice light grey that's quite cool. And then I can add some shadow colours onto these buds, and then onto some of these petals. Again, you can do as little or as much as you want with this. So just wash your brush, smooth it out a little bit, get that transition right. And you just work individual flowers, building up a little bit of interest on each petal. And if you've got a bit of a shadow colour around, you can just washing my little mop brush out. If you've got a little shadow colour, you can just work slowly and build it up slowly. Remember, if you want it lighter, you just put more water in and take anything off on your paper towel. I'm just going to drop a little bit around the base of that as well, and then a bit of the shadow underneath. can always lift off with a thirsty brush. For those of you that don't remember, it's a washy brush. Take a little bit out and then you can lift off that excess paint. Just going to drop. And because it's a really simple shadow colour, you can do flower at a time and then come back to it. You don't have to do them all at once. Wash your brush, damp brush, smooth some of those shadows out. These two make quite a nice neutral grey when together. These little round brushes are really good for this. Building up a little bit of depth and tone. And if you want in a warmer tone, if you can mix you can mix Purple Lake. It makes a really warm, nice shadow colour if you're looking for something a bit different. Go back and put that shadow colouring on now. That's dried a little bit more. And we're just trying to catch the folds of the petal and the shadows on the petals. So very subtle There's a bit of kitty litter there. And just breathing our way through it. You can always go back in and add more, but it's more difficult to add less with watercolour. Well, quite like that. Let's just add those little shadow bits onto here. Maybe a little bit more on this one. So there we are, we've got some really nice spring tones. So if you wanted, you could splatter some white gouache around. That would work really nicely with that to get a bit more movement and texture. I'm not going to do that because I'm not in a splash it all around mood. And so I'm going to call that a day. Quite like how some of the pencil marks are showing through. Quite like this little bunch of buds that have appeared nicely. So as always, if you have enjoyed what you're watching, please like and subscribe. I'd love to see your work. Get in touch. I'm on Facebook. I think I'm also on Instagram, but I'm mainly on Facebook. We do run some live contribute what you can Zoom events, so if you would like that to join those, again, they're available. And I hope you've enjoyed this one. Like, subscribe, share, whatever, all the bits that I know that I should say but I forget to say, and more importantly, happy painting. So we're in April now. Oh, a little bit of pen work. Oh, I might just, yeah, little touch of pen work just on these little shadowy bits. I do like my ink pens. If I'm not too careful though, I get a little bit carried away and they become less loose. it's quite important that it stays loose for me. I do love main pens. I do like flowers as well. Especially in spring and summer. So trying to remember that we're not outlining anything. So the pen and ink work is around adding a little bit of detail and drawing some attention to some parts rather than drawing an outline. And separating when you've got different layers of flowers, it's quite useful. As you can see, put my ink pen in my hand and does something else. So I'm going to stop. I hope you've enjoyed that. A little play with a bit of colour today. So have fun, enjoy, and I'll catch you another time.